So it's my delight now to invite Vesna Hajnšek from L'Occitane to join me, and we're going to be discussing the client experience. So I can stop that share so that we can see more of Vesna. Hi, Vesna. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and hi, everyone.
And just before we start talking about AI, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about yourself and about L'Occitane, sort of things that people can see in the shops around the world, etc.
Sure. I'll start with L'Occitane. L'Occitane en Provence is a French luxury beauty brand that is almost 50 years old. It started in the heart of Provence, where the majority of it still is, and the community lives with it. It's a beauty brand that's been from the beginning built on the principle of doing good for the people and the planet. So you might see it in high streets, you might see it in department stores, you might see it at the airports. Whenever you see this big, bright sun yellow brand, that is L'Occitane en Provence. And in general, it has started, as I said, in Provence, spread all around the world. And a couple of its defining characteristics are really the joie de vivre and the efficacy and the fragrances of that are associated with Provence. And then the other thing is really its care for the people and the planet. And I didn't know that much about it before, but once I joined, I started understanding the work that it's been done for the last 50 years of making sure that biodiversity is maintained, working with producers from farm to face, traceability of ingredients, really empowering women in some of the communities where the ingredients are sourced. So it goes beyond just having a lovely, efficacious product, but also doing good while manufacturing it, basically.
Brilliant. And the last time I saw you was in Athens for the SMR Congress, and we had lots and lots of AI, artificial intelligence things on there. So what sort of things are catching the eye of client-side organizations, people like yourself, in terms of AI? What are the interesting things?
Well, I think for all of us that have been in insights for a while, myself, I think about 15 years, and before that in marketing and PR, we have the same set of questions that we always need to find solutions to, right? Those repeat year on year on year. We just find different ways around them. It's about we're not being IT or digital, right? It's either how do we do things better, faster, or more economically. We all have the same issues on the client side. And we are looking for ways to stretch our resources, basically, and finding better quality insights. That can mean, on the one hand, looking at how can we get some of the labor-intensive and non-added value work done by AI, such as summarization, knowledge management, to bringing to life some ideas or concepts, writing concepts, getting starting thoughts and drafts to build on further, to really understanding what can be the methodologies and approaches to, like we've just seen, get better quality data or get faster to insights and the depth of insights.
So I'm just going to stray off some of our prepared for a moment. For a client's point of view, which is more important usually, faster or cheaper? Depends.
It really depends. There are times where normally really depends on the budget. I've had projects where we went, okay, we have time and you can really play around with it, and I can compromise speed for expense. Or we said, this is really, really urgent for me and I need to get it done fast, and even if it'll cost more, I just need to get it done. So we know that there's the trade-off between cost, quality, and speed. Sometimes, ideally, we like to see none of it, but we know that this is something has to give at a certain point.
Excellent. Now, when I was introducing AI, I nearly said the AI revolution, but are we facing an AI revolution, do you think?
Not anymore, I think, actually. I think we've done the R stage, and now we've skipped it and we're done. We're at evolution. I think
Super.
for me, this has started a few years ago where we were all worried about what's going to happen with our work and how that we will be replaced by new technology. And now we're aware it's a tool, right? It has its strengths, it has its limitations. It can be a massive enabler in what we're doing. But the industry is starting to get full of it. There's many solutions from many sides. We are starting to understand a little bit more what it is, how it works. 2 years ago, you would never talk to somebody about, is it an LLM or not? It was just, it's AI and oh my God, what is it doing? Right. So I think we are past the revolution stage and now we're really evolving together with it, and the industry shaping around the new technology that we have to help us solve our issues.
So thinking about your own experience and conversations with other client-side organizations, what are the key issues that you're facing with AI in terms of picking the right tools and then selling the right tools internally?
I think it's a couple of different things. Depending on the level of maturity of the company, and I've been in places where it was very mature and IT function would jump in and say, this is great, we're going, just wait until we get to you because there's other things that AI can do before insights that are more value added, versus companies where there's a lot of skepticism. And this is also something that I've been hearing from my peers. We either have a lot of skepticism when we say we're doing things with AI, and there needs to be a lot of internal buy-in discussions needed before we adopt a technology or methodology. Or on the other side, we have, oh, let's do it. It's definitely got to be faster and cheaper and better. And sometimes it will not, right? It might be one of those three things, but it's not going to be all three of them. Or it will be faster and cheaper and better long term, but there's going to be a ramp up to it if we're building an internal solution, for instance. And then I think the third one is really understanding the beast. A lot of times when we are talking to different partners that are offering AI solutions, what we really want to know is the limitations of it, the key considerations, how it functions, we don't necessarily need to know everything in the black box, and we can't, but we need to know enough that we can go and we can have intelligent discussions in our companies. So what does it do? What are the big picture? How does it function? Big picture. What are some of the considerations? What is it good at? What is it not good at? So that we can modify what we ask of it. And these are things that at least we have not, we are starting to get, but we haven't always. It was just, it's an AI solution and it's great and trust us with it. It's going to do what you need.
Brilliant. Yes. What do you think agencies and vendors could do better?
Well, I think we've touched a little bit on it, right? Honest communication of its strengths and weaknesses. That's the first thing. Also looking at how we're solving an issue. I think one of the questions is also what we can do when we are trying to find a new solution or propose a new solution. We are researchers. We are looking to come to consumers to see what their unmet needs and unidentified issues, like tensions are. We're the same. It's the same. It's just a different kind of industry. So when I'm looking at agencies and what I would like them to do is open the black box a little bit. It doesn't, of course, some things are proprietary. We don't need to know everything, but I need to know enough to be an advocate of the solution internally. Help train us sometimes. Some of us want just everything off the shelf and just, I trust you, you do your solution. There needs to be a high level of trust. Some of us who are geeks like me, go tell me what it does and help me upskill on this so that I can have more intelligence conversations. When you leave your solution with us, or when you share the results with us, whatever it is, the conversations may stop for you, but they don't for us. This is where it's very, very helpful to be equipped with clarity of what it is, what it does, and maybe even some of the follow-ups, because there's going to be more things happening when you close the door on the project.
So I'm going to jump to some of the questions we've got in the chat. Now, obviously, there'll be some that you can answer and some that maybe with house rules you can't. At the moment, are you applying any synthetic or augmented data in Qual and Quant?
Not yet. We're not using synthetic data yet. We're looking at what would make sense and, like I said, how internally audiences would react to that. We are not far from piloting a few things, but I think we need to, our first step is going to be get people ready and accepting a solution like that.
So, I mean, there's an interesting contrast. I don't know if you attended the Click session in Congress and then it was reported back. So we can see that thousands of companies around the world are using synthetic data, but at a meeting of over 100 client organizations in Athens, not one of them was using it for mission critical work at the moment. So I think it's
a credibility issue.
Yeah, it's a large number of companies doing it. It's a very small percentage of companies doing it.
Yes, it's a credibility issue, and this is what I'm relating to. It will need to be, for us, it needs to be vetted, and we really need to have confidence that when we're replacing something, two things: we are absolutely certain that it's going to work, and the second part is we need to have bulletproof arguments to discuss with our business partners to be okay, and have those conversations.
So are there any AI tools that you've had so far that have generated more insight? Is there anything in particular? I think we want to mention particular tools, but categories would be interesting.
AI-enabled Qual has been very helpful for us for speed, if you will. We know that it's not a depth tool yet, but it's a speed tool. That one's very good. Not synthetic audiences, but synthetic segments, if you will, synthetic groups. Just getting all of the information together and having teams be able to test things on a synthetic audience in that way was not yet a qualification thing, but a gut feel. Another thing that we are using is open, and I've seen used many times, is open AI, if you will, in terms of visualizations, of course, not with proprietary data and information that does not go in there. But finding visualizations to what consumers are verbalizing can really empower creative teams. It gives them a different way of seeing this is what it could look like. Also, finding different subgroups of audiences, again, with open tools, can also be very, very useful. Not to say that it replaces qualification at all, but it gives some food for thought, and then we can refine it. And I think that's one of the positives of AI is that it can do the starting work, and sometimes it's the hardest. It can pull things together, and then you can build and iterate on it. It just brings in speed and sometimes quality, because it can associate different types of data together that we sometimes miss.
Absolutely. So interesting question here from the agency side. There's probably more than 1,000 AI tools being offered. What should people try to do to stand out so that they will catch your eye and you will say, oh, that's even worth having a look at, because you must get stacks of things coming across your desk. What sort of things might make it stand out?
I'm talking about me personally, right? And let's caveat that I'm a geek in this sense. For me, there's a couple of different things. One is I really need to see that it solves an issue that either an issue that I can't solve or an existing one in a better way than what I have available already. The second thing is, by now, an agency that's willing to talk to me about their solution and be at least somewhat open about what it is and how it happens, so that I have clarity of how it's being done and I can talk about it, and a clear POD of why is this better than what's out there already. Because I've had many agencies, not just on this, come to us and say, yes, I have a solution for you. It's like, but how are you different? Oh, we're different. Or we have AI. Right? And that doesn't help because there's so many. So a clear POD helps. A clear way to solve an existing issue helps. Confidence in that solution, either it's a recommendation from someone, either we see it presented somewhere, like here or at an SMR or IIX or wherever, and just start building trust. Again, there's so many solutions out there that we'll go with one that inspires more trust, and that can be either through transparency, honesty, and just a reputation, if you will.
So there's a couple of questions related to sort of the role between agencies and clients. Do you think, first of all, that AI is going to change the relationship between agencies and clients?
A little bit, I hope so. And not in a bad way. I think in general we have wonderful relationships, and it's all about a human connection that works extremely well. But I think there's going to be different type of work done by all of us together, and I think it's more value-added work, because if we're using synthetic solutions, whatever they may be, we need to be very clear at the beginning what we want and what we want at the end. So the briefing stage and the end result stage will be a bigger part of it, and I think that's right. And the other thing I am looking at when I'm getting my results back for any kind of not AI-led study yet, I'm also wondering that when will a big quant study be pulled through an AI tool for a first summary, so then I can work with my agency partner to do something that's going to be even harder hitting, even more strategic, even more impactful at plug and play at the end, when they're released from going through millions of pictures and visual materials and transcripts and everything else, and they have something that helps them with it. So I think it's going to be changed, but I think in a good way.
So the sorts of products your organization have are very emotional. They're based on cultural values. Do you think this is perhaps less amenable to AI and areas like synthetic data than attitudes towards an iPhone or an Audi car?
We haven't done this yet, but I do believe, and I've had conversations with some of the qualitative research agencies, and the reason why I'm saying AI now is for some of the categories of respondents, they start to struggle talking in front of people or to people now. Not everybody, but we have groups that either have specific conditions or specific attitudes, if you will, and it's much easier for them to talk to a screen or an AI than a human. And I actually think in those senses, the emotions and the feedback is going to be much more pure than if I put them in front of a person and they're thinking of how do I need to perform in order for them to evaluate me in a good way. So I'm actually thinking that in certain instances, AI can help, but of course, it's a case-by-case basis. We need to know what it's good for and what not, and use it in those ways.